June the 13th to order. We're going to begin with an invocation tonight. I'm going to ask Alderman Barnhill if he would offer that, and then I'm going to lead a pledge of allegiance following that. So if you'll join me in standing.
And would you bow, please? Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and for all the many blessings that we enjoy being citizens of this great country. We know that we are truly a blessed community. We give you thanks for these. We ask that you be with the soldiers that are in foreign countries that are protecting our freedoms. Be with their families. We know it is a difficult time for both the soldiers and families. We ask that you be with them. We ask that you be with each of us tonight as aldermen, as we make decisions. Give us spiritual wisdom and guidance. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Next is an opportunity for citizens to make comments on items that are not on the agenda. Typically, we request that you fill out a speaker's card and deliver that to me or one of my staff to bring up here. And I don't have any tonight, so I assume there are none. And next, we would go to communications from our Williamson County Commission. I do not see anyone here from there. So we'll go to approval of the minutes from May the 23rd, work session, May the 23rd, Board of Mayor and Aldermen, May the 25th, special work session.
Motion approved.
Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Peterson. Any discussion, any additional comments? Seeing none, ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. I need to move down front now. So I'm going to kind of skip out of order if I could. And do we have any veterans here tonight? So I'm going to invite Skip Beasley and John Burns to come up. They have a very brief presentation for us.
I'm John Burns. This is Skip Beasley. We're both officers of P38. P38 is, if you've ever had a ham and lima bean with a B3 unit, then you'll know what that is. Otherwise, it's just a little can opener that was used with C rations. It was a name given to our organization, or civic organization. The name was given by Mayor Rogers, because you open what you need with that can opener, and we're trying to open relationships and things for the troops. There's a spectrum of support that goes to the troops and their families, and we fall right in the middle. We're focused primarily on families, and so we have been doing a number of actions to help the families, particularly during times of deployment. And right now I'd like to just remind everyone that 3 soldiers from Fort Campbell were killed over the weekend, so the war goes on, it's not over. So, if I may explain what we have here, these emblems around the ring are what's called challenge coins. They're from the various units in the brigade, the various battalions, and the way a challenge coin works is somebody shakes your hand and has one of these coins in there, you need to come up with one of your own or there's some penalty. But the one thing you'll notice in all of these challenge coins, that the designation of the unit is within the club. Now, this club comes from World War II, when during World War II, the soldiers from the 101st would put various playing cards in the camouflage band on their helmets to identify their regiment so that they could tell who was who. And the 1st Brigade wound up with the club. And this lends itself to a very nice pun. They have an expression there that when you're in the club forever. And there was an awards banquet for volunteers from the various units at Fort Campbell for the 1st Brigade. And it was at that banquet that P38 was put in the club. We're now an organization within the 101st within the 1st Brigade. And so it's a great honor, and we have presented this to Mr. Mayor and to Mayor Rogers. Now we're going to present it to to the city, and so I thank all of you for this. And then afterwards, it's going to go to live in the Veterans Assistance Office in the county office building. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Thank you for your help. Thank you, sir. We're gonna take,
Solve that problem.
And we do have a proclamation tonight, and I'm going to ask I'm looking to see the title of the proclamation, but
Pet
Margaret
friendly.
Care
Pet-
and
pet
Dan
friendly.
Franklin. Now, isn't that what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay, come on up.
Come on.
Yeah. I kind of look stupid, I apologize.
Pet friendly city.
And I did read it and write it, so. Oh, good, so, yeah, come on up, Ernie, you're part of this too. Ready? Whereas pets give companionship, lower blood pressure, and reduce stress for people, and whereas pets in public places can be an icebreaker and help people make new social connections, and whereas time outdoors with pets get people moving, encouraging healthy activity, and whereas bringing pets along to businesses means people can stay longer and not have to worry that they've left their pets at home alone. And whereas people with pets are more likely to visit pet-friendly businesses and stay longer during their visit, and whereas our local research shows that more than 60% of Franklin residents have a pet, and whereas nearly 80% of those surveyed said they would value pets being welcomed in Franklin businesses, and whereas Mars Pet Care US and its over 900 Franklin-based associates have committed to a mission of improving the lives of pets, and whereas Mars Pet Care has chosen the City of Franklin to pilot its Better Cities for Pets program and partnered with our city to make our shelters, homes, and businesses more pet-friendly, and whereas for all these reasons, we want Franklin to stand out as a leading pet-friendly community that celebrates pets and the people who love them, now therefore I, Dr. Ken Moore, Mayor of the City of Franklin, do hereby proclaim that pets are welcome in Franklin, Tennessee. Okay, are there any miscellaneous reports?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make one addition. We always provide at the end of our meeting agenda the listing of upcoming meetings and events related to the city. And we have worked with our Capital Investment Committee and would like to announce the scheduling of our June meeting. We've shifted it up a week to June 22nd at 4 o'clock. That way it will coincide with the same time the board members are here for the joint conceptual workshop and planning commission that same evening. And again, that'll be at 4 o'clock on the 22nd of June for the Capital Investment Committee.
Okay, any other miscellaneous reports? If not, we'll continue on to the consent agenda, and all items under the consent agenda are deemed to be non-controversial and routine in nature by the governing body, and they will be approved as recommended by committee or staff by one motion of the governing body. Tonight, we're considering items number 24 through 41.
I move for approval, but I'd like to, with the exception of pulling 25.
Second.
Appropriate motion and second. Any discussion? You ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, item number 4. This is a public hearing, consideration of ordinance 2017-11 to be entitled, an ordinance to rezone .42 acres from detached residential R3 district to specific developmental residential SDR 4.7 district for John B. McEwen Addition PUD subdivision for the property located at 1226 Adams Street. Anything to add to that, Josh? before
Thank
we
you,
get-
Mayor. The applicant's requesting a rezoning of the property at 1226 Adams Street from the existing R3 to SDR 4.7 to allow for the construction of a second single-family house. The item was recommended favorably to the board from both Planning Commission and staff.
Are there any public comments? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Martin. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 5, public hearing. This is a public hearing. Consideration of Resolution 2017-21 to be entitled, a resolution approving the development plan for the John B. McEwen Addition PUD subdivision for the property located at 1226 Adams Street.
Thank you, Mayor. The applicant's proposing a development plan that will include 2 houses on the property currently located at 1226 Adams Street. The lot is a larger lot, and the proposed subdivision is keeping with the lot patterns of the area. Envision Franklin recommends preserving historic structures such as this one. The plan has been updated since it was presented at joint conceptual workshop, and now specifically preserves the existing house. The item is recommended favorably by both Planning Commission and staff.
Any public comments? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion? Ready to vote? Alderman Skinner.
I'd like to commend the property owner on this. They came up with a good compromise. They could have left this as it was and torn down the old house, but they subdivided this and are preserving an old home and part of our historic structures in part of Franklin. So they're to be commended for their efforts and their commitment to keeping that part of historic Franklin in existence, and we thank you.
Any other comments? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 6, this is a public hearing, consideration ordinance 2017-08 to be entitled, an ordinance to amend Chapter 5 of the zoning ordinance of the City of Franklin, Tennessee in order to amend the building design standards to remove the requirements pertaining to the maximum length of attached residential buildings.
Thank you, Mayor. This is as described. This is the maximum attached residential building length of 200 feet. It is being removed as it is not as effective as originally intended, and the zoning ordinance provides for much more, a greater degree of flexibility in terms of building design than this current restriction allows.
Are there any public comments? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion. There's seconded by Alderman Peterson. Any discussion? Alderman Martin.
Is there any limit on the length?
It is not, our zoning ordinance doesn't speak to length with the removal of this. It has more to do with design and quality and character and requiring a break in both the facade and also with utilities every so often.
But it would be left up to staff to work with the builder or the owner to put some kind of limit. I mean, it couldn't be
We have-
2,000 feet.
We have very strong facade variation requirements within our zoning ordinance, which means if it's a 200-foot building. It has a lot of ins and outs with the facade, and it makes it appear as if it's a smaller set of buildings. We don't allow one massive, long 200-foot facade.
Alderman Skinner.
Something's occurred to me that would be part of our standards, right?
That is under our current standards.
Okay, current standards. If this bill through the state becomes reality that eliminates these standards, what protection will we have then from some monolithic building?
That is something that staff is currently looking at, and this current this current restriction we have would also be included under that if it's stricken from the state guidelines. Or if design review is stricken from our ability to do it, this would be included in that.
You're gonna have that same issue regardless.
Everything.
If design standards are removed, they're removed. And this would go with it, whether you change this or not.
The length of the building is considered part of the standards in the
Yeah, I
first
believe
place?
so.
The one thing is that the bill that was proposed recently with the state did only apply to single-family and two-family dwellings. This typically applies to larger multifamily developments. So I think our ability to regulate these larger multifamily buildings would still remain in place, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I would say that every time someone asked for a modification of standards on this, it was always recommended by the planning staff and approved by the planning commission. So it just seemed to be something that really, it fit other things and not the length of it.
Ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 7, this is a public hearing, consideration of resolution 2017-18 to be entitled a resolution approving a revised development plan for River Bluff PUD subdivision for the property located east of Lewisburg Pike and north of Holly Hill Drive.
Thank you, Mayor. The applicant is proposing to remove a 1.72 acre parcel from the River Bluff PUD development plan. The removal of this parcel has no detrimental impacts to the development. The revised development plan complies with the spirit and intent of the site design and form guidelines of Envision Franklin. Staff recommends the item favorably, as does Planning Commission.
Any public comments? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Move for approval?
Appropriate
Second.
motion, second by Alderman Peterson. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 8, this is a public hearing, consideration of ordinance 2017-19, an ordinance to adopt a budget for fiscal year 2017 and 2018. If I remember correctly, Mr. Stuckey is going to give a brief presentation about that, and then we'll have public comments following that.
If I could, I'd like to give an overview of the proposed budget that's before you tonight. And then this presentation, really, the intent of which is to cover the next 4 items, which all are the different components of your actions adopting the budget. And tonight, we're holding our second reading and our public hearing for the proposed fiscal year 2018 budget. And I'll take the next 5 to 10 minutes to go through that for you. Overall, I just want to highlight, again, our focus, and this has been a focus we've used for several years, that talks about kind of the 3 pillars that support what we do as a city. And that's the management of our operations, the community development focus, and a strong financial base. So these 3 pillars: first, management, that we have a well-run operation that delivers high-quality services. We do that by focusing on our customers, but also measuring how we perform, benchmarking it against others, and making sure that we are focused on service delivery to our community. The second pillar, in terms of community development, that we facilitate high-quality investment that improves our community, contributes to a vital local economy. And then the third pillar, a strong financial base, which really supports all elements of what we do, that we have this critical piece in place with strong financial policies, multi-year planning and insight, and of course, strive to maintain the highest possible bond rating, which was just affirmed this past week as a AAA bond rating from both Moody's and Standard & Poor's. So when we look at the bottom line, the budget, the primary operating budget of the city is our general fund. It's a $68.9 million budget, and this slide before you, right here, gives you the breakdown of where our revenue comes from. Over 50% comes from the sales tax. That's been consistently where that number has been for many years. When you look at our other components, state shared tax is just under 18%. That's the revenue comes back from the state, largely comprised of sales tax collected at the state level. And then property tax, and this is the component of property tax that remains once we pay our general obligation debt out of property tax. The balance goes to support our general fund operations. So those three components comprise nearly 80% of our revenues. The remaining components are various other fees and taxes, including alcohol tax, building permits, franchise fees, interest revenue, those sorts of elements. Another way that we've broken out our revenue in recent years has been how much of it is driven by direct consumption. And nearly 3/4 of it is consumption-based taxes, whether that's sales tax at the local level or sales tax at the state level, or things like beer and alcohol tax, which are driven by consumer activity. So that, right on its face, tells you that we are very sensitive to what happens in the economy. The local and national economy affects our revenue sources probably more quickly than it might in some other cities that have maybe a more property tax-driven revenue structure. So when we look at where we spend the money, first looking at it from a functional standpoint, again, consistent with where we've been over many years, roughly half of it goes to our public safety services, police and fire in particular. Public works components is about 17%. Our community economic development activities around 13%. Finance administration make up another 10, 11% of that, of those expenditures. So when we look at it by our categories, where we spend it, we're largely driven by personnel expenses, salaries, benefits, including health insurance and pension costs, nearly 70% on the personnel side. Operational components in terms of supplies, materials, nearly 1/4, and then capital equipment, not capital projects, but capital equipment about 6%. And is larger in this budget in terms of capital equipment than it has been in a number of prior years. This next slide, it's kind of hard to read all of it, but it gives you all funds and the general fund broken down. Our all funds is just over $145 million. That's about a 1.5% increase over where we're tracking in the current year budget. And the general fund, again, $68.9 million, just about 1.2% over the current fiscal year. So our focus, and the board adopted back in the summer months a series of budget goals, but I really break those down in about 5 primary bullets focused on maintaining and delivering high-quality services to the community, targeted investments in our future, enhancing our community's competitive position overall, focusing on our opportunities, the possibilities that exist, not just our challenges, and the overall focus on maintaining Franklin's unique community character while we take advantage of the opportunities that growth and development present us. And several years ago, the board adopted a strategic plan, Franklin Forward, that focuses on 4 primary strategic goals and themes. And every element brought forward in this budget, every proposal, program enhancement, is tied to one, if not multiple, of these goals. And those include a safe, clean, livable city, quality life experiences, effective and fiscally sound city government providing high-quality services, and sustainable growth and economic prosperity. So let me hit just the highlights of the budget overall and then address some of the specific elements. Again, $68.9 million budget, 1.2% increase over where we're tracking in the current fiscal year. Those increases are primarily driven by personnel costs, funding some limited additional positions, and then just increases for both health insurance, pension, and wages for our employees. Our total All funds budget, again, 145.2 million, a 1.5% increase over the existing budget. And when you look at the various funds, we see increases in our general fund, our transit fund, our stormwater, street aid, road impact, debt service, and water management. Overall, the budget is balanced, with current and ongoing revenues and expenditures equaling one another. It is in compliance with the board's adopted debt and fund reserve policies, significantly exceeding the reserve requirements. It does continue the Invest Franklin initiatives that you adopted a year ago, that 10-cent property tax increment targeted, 7 cents at infrastructure and transportation investments, and then 3 cents to operating capacity. And of course, it does support the first tier of those projects identified in Invest Franklin at about $88 million. As I said before, we're adding a limited number of positions across all funds, about 8.5 positions within the general fund, 5.5 net positions added, 3 of which are the adjustment of part-time positions to full-time positions. When we look at what departments those are included in, that includes parks, fire, engineering, streets, water management, and stormwater. When we look at what we're doing in terms of wages for our employee team, it includes a base cost of living increase at 2.5%, and then additional performance-based pay increases ranging from 0.5% up to an additional 2.5%. So you'll see a range of 3 to 5% in total when we roll those together, with an overall average of around 4.2% is what's built into the budget. And those performance-based increases will be based on the calendar year 2016 performance evaluations. Within the budget also, we are supporting an update to our compensation plan. 3 to 4 years ago, the board adopted in 2 phases an updated performance or pay plan that provided a structure that is tied very much to market and market competitiveness. And we are updating that entire plan. Each year in the past 3 budgets, we have made targeted adjustments where we had identified market issues, but this is taking a more comprehensive look. There is proposed a general pay grade adjustment of 4%. We would enact that after the annual pay increases and bring that to the board for approval there. And then department by department reviews will take place over the next 3 or 4 months, with specific recommendations coming back to the board in the fall for any adjustments for positions, maybe pay grade adjustments or adjustments that we feel are necessary based on market conditions. There is a substantial investment in capital equipment replacement, $3.9 million. This is the largest amount we've had in many years. It reflects that we have stretched the useful life of a lot of equipment over the last several years, and we are making substantial investments in increasing that. The budget does include 1 fee adjustment. For the first time in 4 years, we are making an adjustment in our residential garbage collection and recycling services, and that will move from $16.50 per month to $17.50 per month. Again, we tie to all of our initiatives throughout the budget and our performance measures to strategic plan elements and key measures that we benchmark ourselves against cities across the state and across the nation. I won't go into great detail over the next 4 slides, but they do highlight some key program enhancements that are included in the budget in each of our key strategic theme areas. For example, the safe, clean, and livable city component. We've got funding that we've carried over the last couple years for the deployment of body-worn cameras for our police officers. As you know, we have patiently waited for some what we call common sense privacy protections to be put in place at the state level. Fortunately, with the leadership of our local delegation, those adjustments have been made in state law. So we're moving forward, and in fact, right now we're testing one of the vendor options right now for body-worn cameras. But funding exists for 110 body-worn cameras to be deployed over this next year for our police team. We do have key replacement vehicles in police and fire highlighted here, including $1 million investment in Tower 1. We also have new vehicles for Fire Engine 7 and a wildland pumper equipment. Within our efficient and effective focus on high-quality services, just a couple things. Again, targeted investment in replacing equipment that is past due. That includes sanitation, streets, water. We have a new program in terms of some paving, sealing initiative that we think will extend the life of local streets with a limited investment, $300,000. We also are purchasing leak detection equipment. We've contracted out for that service over the last several years, but really will pay off within a year or two to go ahead and buy the equipment and do it ourselves. Quality life experiences, we've got the first year payment of the 77-acre park parcel acquisition in the Southeast Park. This will join our 188 acres that we own currently for municipal services and parks. And so that'll be a key initiative going forward. Of course, we also have some funding for the partnership that we're working on with Franklin Special School District around open space that they own around neighborhood schools. And then finally, sustainable growth and economic prosperity. One of the targeted position ads will really help us take on a qualified local program approach to stormwater. This will eliminate our need to continually run to the state for approvals. We can administer that locally, which we think will provide more responsiveness and better solutions as we work with development and protecting stormwater and protecting the environment. We also have enhanced funding for transit and have the fixed route improvements that have been identified and will provide for 30-minute pickup at all stops on that improved route system. So just a couple components. This talks about our financial performance over the last 10 years. You will note that over the last 6 consecutive years, we've been able to put some level of funding into building our reserves. That's on the heels of having to draw on it a couple years during the teeth of the recession. So we're proud that we've been able to do that. That's a tribute to the good management of our team and a good, solid budgeting approach as we move forward, and an approach that we will maintain. Again, I talked about some of the key components of our revenue structure. This chart just summarizes that for you. I'll talk about a couple key areas as we move forward in the next couple slides. Sales tax, again, is the lion's share of our general fund revenue. We have tamped down our projection on growth a little bit. We've been projecting in the 5% range. In recent years, we've brought that down to around 4.5% just to be a little more conservative on that, and have noted a little bit of softening on some of those numbers in recent months. So we think that that is prudent at this stage. And the line chart you see there gives you a sense of how our numbers consistently outperform the state numbers, but in the last couple years, those two lines have gotten a lot closer to one another. So just something to note right there. The comparison of property tax to sales tax, Franklin is very unique. We are likely the inverse of most every city across the state in terms of how sales tax compares to property tax. That number has typically been a 2-to-1 ratio. It's a little less than that now with the Invest Franklin component that is incorporated into our property tax, but is still substantial in terms of the dependency on sales tax. This just gives you a history of our property tax. Again, it's highly competitive. When we look across the state, we are the second lowest city property tax for a city above 25,000 population. And you compare that property tax rate over many, many years, and you'll see it's a mere fraction of what it was 10, 20, 25 years ago. Intergovernmental revenue, I just pulled this slide out just because that is an important element I wanted to highlight for you. We do show some significant growth in that number this year thanks to carryover of a grant, as well as the benefit of the special census that was completed with approximately 5,000 growth in our certified population. That will be translated in there, but there's a wild card in this budget this year, in that the Improve Act does shift some revenue out of the state shared formula. The reduction in sales tax on food will affect local governments because less will be shared back to us. So we'll be keeping an eye on that as we move forward into this year. We think we've been conservative in the estimates that we've used, but we'll have to see how that plays out, and there's some uncertainty exactly how that formula will play out. We've generally used around $100 to $130 per capita as our state shared number. Again, we've been conservative, but we'll have to see how that plays out. And it's not working now. I think I either hit something or something's on the screen. If you can just move me along. There we are. And this just summarizes where we are with our fund balance. It's hitting projected at the end of this year, and there are a lot of elements that play into this, but about $41.2 million in our general fund ending balance. That's in excess of 60% compared to our existing budget. So that's a very strong position. It does free up some dollars to help us fund on a pay-as-you-go basis capital projects that you've identified in Invest Franklin. And then finally, just to summarize, this is a balanced budget, supports key initiatives, including ongoing support for Invest Franklin. It meets your budget goals and objectives. It enhances services and features targeted program enhancements in areas like public safety and growth-related areas in terms of service impact, and is, again, in compliance with your reserve policies. So I just want to conclude by thanking our team. It's absolutely a team effort. Everybody in every department plays some role, and we have key people sprinkled throughout every department that really work hard to put these numbers together and help us make good decisions and good recommendations to you as a board. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Michael Walters-Young for his great leadership. Our assistant city administrators, our HR team, our finance team all put a lot of extra hours as we work with each and every department. And of course, there's some marathon sessions with the Budget and Finance Committee, which we have to mention those too. So I just want to thank everybody for their efforts in bringing this budget forward. And I'm proud to recommend it to you and glad to answer any questions you or the public have tonight. Thank you. Thank you.
That was a marathon. This is a public hearing, so the opportunity for citizens to speak on this issue. I don't see anyone coming forward, so I will entertain a motion for approval.
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion? I think your applause was indicative of the discussion. Ready to vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 9, this is a public hearing, consideration ordinance 2017-20, an ordinance to establish a property tax rate for 2018. Does anyone want to speak to this body? I don't see anybody, so we'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve.
Move for approval.
Second.
Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Peterson. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 10, this is a public hearing, consideration of ordinance 2017-21, an ordinance to amend Appendix A, Chapter 17 of the Municipal Code regarding refuse and trash disposals. Does anyone want to speak to this body? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Appropriate motion by Alderman Barnhill, seconded by Alderman Scanner. Any discussion?
Question, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Berger.
Eric, Mr. Stuckey, we know approximately the cost of picking up per household, if we're raising it to $17.50, but the cost is in the 20s, isn't it?
Well,
Or-
it's, yeah, and we've had, we used to subsidize this to the tune of around $4.5 million a year. We have submitted to you balanced budgets related to it, but we've needed to put additional general fund subsidy in somewhere in the $300,000 to $600,000 range over the last 3 or 4 years. We have a very comprehensive sanitation solid waste program. Basically, you put it out, we pick it up. And so we function at a pretty high level in terms of service level. And I think it's fair to say our general cost of service is probably around that $20 range.
Yeah.
It depends on how you want to allocate some of the services that we don't necessarily have to deliver every
day.
every week to every house. Of course, the trash pickup and the recycling is generally offered and hits every house, but some of the other services are not as frequently used, so it's a little harder to assess that. But I think it's fair to say it's in that $20 range or more. And I think if you compare what is paid for private service, it's significantly higher in the market. It's
Sure.
easily in that $30 range in terms of what's charged in communities that don't provide the service in the manner we do.
Thank you. And also, I just wanted to make sure that we mentioned, for people that maybe don't hear this very often, that it was good that you mentioned we used to subsidize solid waste about 4 million, and we're down to in the 300, well, down to about 300 some thousand. So with that said, hopefully in the next few years, we can even find ways to, I know they've done a marvelous job to take us down that low. And I really appreciate solid waste and Becky and his department working so hard to do that. And maybe we can still find ways to continually lower that budget as well. But thank you for your information.
Any other comments? Seeing none, ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 11, this is a public hearing. Consideration resolution 2017-32, a resolution adopting the estimate of revenues and expenditures for water and sanitary sewer utility fund for fiscal year 2017-18 and fiscal year 2018-19, and providing an effective date. Does anyone want to speak to this body? Don't see anybody, so we'll close the public hearing and we'll entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion. Is there a second? By Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 12, this is a public hearing. Consideration ordinance 2017-15, fourth quarter budget, 2017 budget amendments. Does anyone want to speak to this body? Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed. Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion by the
Second.
Vice Mayor, seconded by Alderman Berger. Too many
It's
Bs.
the bees. Yes, a lot of
Any
bees.
discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 13, consideration of initiating the de-annexation process for the de-annexation of certain areas adjacent to Murfreesboro Road, specifically 4113 Murfreesboro Road. I would ask maybe if staff make a comment on this.
This is the item we spoke about last meeting and moved to this meeting. This had been considered a year ago. Board gave direction at that time to defer the de-annexation consideration based on the fact that the state of Tennessee was still struggling with or working through how to provide direction to local cities and local governments about the management of de-annexation and how that process would be initiated and be carried through. So we brought that back per that direction. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know how you want to look at it, we are still in the same position we were a year ago in terms of there is no specific action. There have been a bill or two proposed on this issue that are still under consideration, but were not voted on, did not have specific direction provided from the state. So we're in the exact same place we were a year ago on this issue. Staff has attempted multiple times to reach this property owner over the last few weeks and have left many messages and have not gotten any response back to know where he stands related to the consideration of this item. There obviously had been some additional action in that area in terms of annexation between a year ago and now. So we don't know where that individual is on that issue in terms of that request. So we have it on here because we said we'd consider it at this time. Not sure how you want to proceed with this, except for to say we're in the exact same position we were a year ago. We just don't know where the applicant
Mr. Mayor.
is
With
on
no
this.
direction, we should
Mr.
consider deferral.
Yeah.
Alderman Berger.
I'd like to make a motion to defer until the state of Tennessee provides specific direction regarding the eligibility and process and determining factors for them rendering a decision.
Appropriate motion, second.
Do we need a specific time for
Yeah.
that?
Thank you.
Till-
That
Till they
is-
bring it back up,
That is,
till they give us direction.
we can't defer indefinitely.
Do we need a date?
I would
Can we
ask a
put it
date,
on-
and you might want to go with the first meeting in June, a year from now.
All right, I'll
if
be
that's
glad to
any-
do that. I'll amend my motion to coincide with, to look at this again and defer it till the first meeting in June of 2018.
Do you,
And I second that.
okay, any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 14, consideration of a contract with Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation for State Revolving Loan Fund in the amount of $1.5 million with principal forgiveness of $225,000.
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion,
Second.
seconded by Alderman Barnhill. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I would just add, this may seem familiar because we acted on a similar resolution a couple meetings ago. There's an additional agreement that is required that we enter into, and your prior action wasn't sufficient, so we needed to bring this agreement for both of those two loans back to you for specific consideration. So this is consistent with the direction you provided a few meetings ago, but we needed to do this directly.
Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 15, consideration of contract 2017-0137 with the State of Tennessee Department of Environment Conservation for a state revolving loan fund in the amount of $78,500,000.
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion by the
Second.
Vice Mayor, seconded by Alderman Berger. Any discussion? Ready to vote?
Same difference.
Same thing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 16, consideration of Resolution 2017-36, a resolution to fund the installation of 2 box culverts as part of the Franklin Road Improvements Project.
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Martin. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 17, consideration resolution 2017-45 to award the construction contract for the State Route 96 East Sidewalk Project to Civil Constructors LLC in the amount of $1,511,299.81 and to establish a project contingency fee in the amount of $75,000.
Move for approval.
Second.
Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Peterson.
With comment. There, what was it, there's 200
About 280,000.
80,000.
Atmos will reimburse
Atmos.
the city. That's the next item that you'll act on.
So that-
So the net cost of the city is $1,223,000, yeah.
Okay. Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 18, consideration of a utility relocation agreement, City of Franklin Contract 2017-0073 with Atmos Energy Corporation for the State Route 96 East Sidewalk Project.
Motion to approve.
Appropriate motion by Alderman Barnhill, seconded by Alderman Peterson. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. 19 is consideration of professional services agreement with civil and environmental consultants for the preliminary engineering National Environmental Policy Act Phase of East McEwen Drive Phase 4 Improvements Project in the amount not to exceed $125,071.96.
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion, seconded by the Vice Mayor. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 20 is consideration of ordinance 2017-26, an ordinance to amend Title I, Chapter 3 of the Franklin Municipal Code relative to the duties of the city recorder. This is the first of 2 readings. Is there a motion? Appropriate motion, seconded by Alderman Peterson. Is there any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 21, consideration ordinance 2017-22, an ordinance to rescind ordinance 2014-33 and adopt a revised policy for public records requests, first of 2 readings.
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion by the Vice Mayor,
Second.
seconded by Alderman Scanner. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 22 is consideration of a contract 2016-0098, proposed terms for parkland acquisition between the City of Franklin and Crescent Lockwood LLC. I would ask if you decide to make a motion to approve this, that you leave a little leeway for the city administrator and our staff attorney to be able to make the final determination if there's some minor changes.
I so moved.
Second. With
Appropriate,
conditions.
yes. Appropriate motion by Alderman Martin, seconded by
What he said.
Alderman Skinner.
What he said.
And with clarification, is there any discussion? No more discussion, ready to vote, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, passes unanimously. Item 22, consideration of contracts 2016-0098, proposed terms for Parkland acquisition. Wait a minute, I just did that one. I didn't check it off. Y'all don't want to vote on it again? Okay, item 23, this is an easy one. Consideration of reappointment of Ryan Schmidt, Drury Hotels, to Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Move for approval.
Appropriate motion.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Blanton. Any discussion? Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 25, consideration resolution 2017-46, resolution of partnership with Williamson County Schools to extend sanitary sewer service to the Henpeck Lane school site. Is there a motion?
I move for approval with comment.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman McClendon and Alderman Berger.
I just wanted to make sure that we're explaining what we're doing here, and I want to make it clear because there's a lot of talk in the community recently because some cities have stepped up and they're, getting behind the schools and saying, yes, we're going to give you $1 million here and $1 million there. And some people have approached me in the community saying, why doesn't Franklin step up and do some things? And, if you look at the amount of money that Franklin contributes to the school systems, it's about $20 million more than any of the other cities. And so we are contributing quite a bit of money. This is a partnership that they have asked us to enter into. They have talked to us before about it, but we were willing to listen to any proposals that they had, and they finally came to us with this proposal. And now we're entering into a partnership if the vote goes through tonight, and to help them with the school down in Henpeck Lane so they can make improvements and enlarge the school in that area. And I, for one, am glad to be a partnership with that. But I just wanted to have Eric, maybe you'd like to explain exactly what this resolution is. So the people will know what we're talking about.
So this will extend sanitary sewer service to an already owned site, an already operating elementary school, and also make practical the development of a new middle school on a site that the Williamson County Schools already owns. So the total cost projected for that extension of service is about $2.36 million. The city and the schools would split that cost. So the city's cost of $1.18 million, we have identified what's called county adequate facilities tax dollars that comes to the city. There's a portion that the cities get per state law, and we would use those dollars to help fund the city's half of that. And that's consistent with policy the board's enacted or followed over the last several years, and has spent millions of dollars to support infrastructure in and around the school sites. Just a couple examples. Clovercroft Elementary site was supported by $1.4 million of improvements at Wilson Pike and McEwen. Underway right now, we're using about $1 million of these funds to support improvements on Hillsborough Road, specifically sidewalks to Franklin High School. And, we did also put funding into the Enrichment Center, about $500,000 from this same funding source. So we've put significant money in these ways, and the board's direction to this point is things that help schools, but also help the general public in terms of infrastructure improvements. I would just mention what you referenced prior in terms of the city's support references local sales tax that were referenced in our general fund budget. The same amount we get for our operations also goes to public school support. So the $33.2 million that we're going to project for this current year, and that grows to 34.7, that same amount goes to public schools, vast majority to Williamson County schools. In addition to that, what we do in terms of supporting non-residential development has a significant sustainable impact on the funding of public education. And I'll just give you a high-level example. The assessed valuation, which is the basis for property tax. The city of Franklin is roughly 32% of the population of the county, but is 40% of the assessed valuation. And that is directly attributable to the fact that non-residential development is assessed at 40% of value. Residential is at 25%. So the fact that this community has supported high-quality investment in non-residential development has made us, as a community, a significant supporter of the funding of public schools. So I just think those are important things to note that are there every year. We're not writing a check and making a show of it, but we are providing a lot of support in the tune of millions and millions of dollars every year, tens of millions of dollars every year to help fund public education. So I think that answers it.
Thank you.
and It flushes out that
Yes,
issue.
because I attended the county commission meeting last night and afterwards talked to some of the commissioners, and they were unaware of the high amount of dollars that we're putting into public schools. So thank you for explaining that to the public. Thank you.
Any other comments? You ready to vote?
Mr. Mayor, we should also note that many of the future students that will possibly attend this middle school will be citizens of Franklin, from southern Franklin.
Ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Berger. All in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you.
No executive session.